we could spend a half hour to an hour really discussing what all goes into the decisions at any position to play guys. And, obviously I will just talk about JT in terms of how he handled, first of all, our recruiting process to get him here, how excited he was to be a Georgia Bulldog. The pandemic obviously was a setback in terms of his rehab, and then getting him here was probably the best thing we could do. He can speak a little bit more to that. All he did was work his rear end off to try and get healthy, to learn the offense. He's a rare individual in terms of loving football and studying the game. And he didn't get his opportunity early on. He can speak to, again, his health, but he was eventually healthy, but he requested to go down to the other end and continue to work. Obviously, you can give everybody reps, but what he did is continue to work and compete. And when his opportunity came, he took advantage of it. Obviously, there's a number of things that I'll be 55 in February that I look back on and think I would have done, should have, could have, would have, maybe done differently, but there's no sense in looking back at that. The moment JT played and prepared, it was time to move forward. And I think he's done a great job, not only before his opportunity, but then since then.
Thank you. Yeah, Coach and JT, I'll ask you both. I'm curious as how much you guys have kind of learned about each other, over these past, 4 to 6 weeks plus, how much better do you guys know each other, know what you do well, know what you want to do?
Coach Monken first.
I think there's a part of any relationship that I do think right away when we met, I do think there was a connection there in terms of what we were looking for and what he was looking for moving forward. So I think that was a really good start. You really don't know anybody when you're in the courtship stage, because we were in the recruiting stage. So obviously I'm different than what I might have been for a few weeks trying to recruit him than when he gets here. And good and bad, some better, probably some worse. But from JT's end of it, I'll just speak from my end of it, is that one thing about it is he's a sponge, loves to be coached, loves to have the answers, which is a huge start at the quarterback position. There's a lot of things you can do with JT that you can keep it as quarterback controlled, because he's going to study the film. He's going to want to know the answer. You don't have to tell him everything. You don't have to look to the sideline and change the play. He can do that on his own. And he embraces that challenge of being in control. And that is the first step to being an NFL quarterback, is the quarterback being in control. And so it's been great. But from the get-go, it was, because there's never a doubt in terms of the amount of work that JT's willing to put in to be the player he wants to be. Very few people have a love of the process of playing the game of football like JT does. And it was hard at the beginning because we were building what we want to do offensively. It's hard when you're trying to put together without a spring what we want to do from different places I've been in the staff collectively. So when you're going through things, but there's no guarantee. What we're doing today could have been completely different than what we were introducing in May. It just is, just where we've evolved as a collective staff. So it's been a good, and I think we're only going to get better and get on the same page more and more as the offseason in 2021.
Hey, Todd, you alluded to 2021. I want to ask both of you and JT, when you look at the progress the offense has made as the season's gone along, where do you see it going with the number of returners that could be coming back for next season?
Well, it's exciting. I did, when I first got here and I saw some of the young skill players, some of the freshman wideouts and the backs that we had, I thought, I think we have a chance to be really good on offense. I don't know when it all comes together as a staff, and when do I do it better for our players? When do our guys mature? George is still a young player as well. When those guys start to mature a little bit. But we are excited about not only the guys that'll be playing on Friday, but the young players that we've got, especially at the skill positions, that as we're able to move forward, and a guy like JT, who's certainly capable of distributing the ball and understanding where we want to go with the football. So it's an exciting time, especially for me. And, hopefully we'll have a chance to have a legit off season, be able to study what we did, what the difference is that we want to change as we move forward, because college football is different than NFL. There is a lot of differences that I think we'll continue to build off of that and develop who we are as we keep moving forward.
For Todd, two questions, but related to answer together. When the story of your first season at Georgia is written, how much did Jamie Newman's opt-out decision affect what you had planned to do this season, especially when he opted out? And with everything that happened this year, including no spring practice and the QB situation, has the offense you envisioned when you came here been different than what you envisioned?
Well, first, let's start with Jamie. Not much in terms of changing, because at the time when Jamie was practicing, we were still in competition. Sure, certain things we were doing with guys that were a little bit more athletic that, we probably don't do nearly as much now with JT. But, it's hard to say what you envision. Obviously, it was tough without having spring, without really, the preparation you'd like. But, at the end of the day, no one really gives a shit. We're in a get it done business. There's a lot of other teams that lose players and that didn't have a spring and change coaches and didn't have as good of players as we have. So, everybody has their own issues they've got to deal with. And yeah, there's certain things that I wish I could have done better, that I would have coached better. I would have communicated better. I would have made better decisions on game day or during the week in terms of preparation. And that'll never change. And it hasn't as long as I've been coaching. But, obviously we certainly had our opportunities at Alabama. We certainly did. And we certainly had our opportunities at Florida and didn't take advantage of it, just speaking offensively. But I am excited about the guys that we do have. I really, really enjoy our staff. I think our staff does a great job collectively in the areas that they have in terms of game planning, in terms of bringing ideas to the table, because this is never a one-man show. It never can be. And coaches want to be involved in terms of their areas, contributing to the game plan. I just happen to be the one that finalizes things and gets a chance to call it. But I'm really excited about our staff moving forward and our young players.
Coach Monken, how big would it be for your offense? How much would it mean for what you want to do to have JT come back?
I think our guys have done a pretty good job of the task at hand, which is the game this Friday. Join one more game together with this team. We have a number of guys that, is going to be their last game as a Georgia Bulldog. Obviously, it's been a different year in terms of just off-season, season, travel, how we go about things. So I'm just excited about one more opportunity together with this group come Friday.
Basically, give us a breakdown of what Georgia's getting in Brock Vandagriff. Because
there we go. I wasn't like I'd forgotten about Brock. But, when I first got here, and I was talking with Kirby, he talked about a quarterback being right down the road. A young man that had been committed to Oklahoma, but, was trying to, if he could stay closer to home. I think what you're getting is a high-level competitor. It's one thing being around him, for a young man. He loves to compete. Football. He loves the weight room. He played through the back half of their year with an issue with his knee that resolved. So, you talk about someone that, obviously his dad being a coach and being around it his whole life and athletics, and his sisters are athletic and competitive. And so you just love that about him, how much he enjoys the process of being a really good player and competing. To me, that's probably the biggest thing is he's a competitive joker.
Given the way this season has transpired and the way this offense has kind of started to come together, the performances at South Carolina and Missouri, are you disappointed this is the last game? I mean, do you wish you had 4 or 5 more games to kind of see? Because it kind of still feels like this offense is in the development stage right now.
Yeah, it's been an interesting run, over the weeks that we've had with some games being canceled and who we played and our guys maturing. And I'll just reiterate what JT said, it's interesting. I don't think any given week at a certain point we took for granted that we would play. It got to the point where, certain games are being canceled or moved. And we've been going at it a long time. I mean, since we came back in June, and our players have been off the chart in terms of how they've worked and prepared and understood to control what they can control. It's been a long grind. I mean, it has been for our guys, and students as a whole, this has not been easy for them. And the enjoyment of a college environment and home games, and we didn't get our seniors didn't get a home finale here for senior day. So they've been awesome and been about as good as you could ask from our team to keep working, and it's continued. And I'm just excited about seeing how we can finish off the year this Friday.
Okay, we just got time for one more question. Let's go to Connor Riley, Dog Nation.
Hey, Todd, what have you made of the progression of Darnell Washington this year, and how do you go about trying to get tight ends involved in your offense?
Well, first of all, Darnell has, from the moment that I saw him, you can certainly see the upside of a big, athletic, tough young man. I mean, you can just see that, what his upside can be as a raw player. And to boot, he is an awesome kid. I mean, he is an awesome kid, always smiling, got a great disposition about him. But it is hard at times because we did have Trey McKitty who came here, and, with Fitz and him, and trying to get the guys on the field to maximize their measurable skill set and what they do well as a young player, try not to overload Darnell early on has been difficult. Now, as he's progressed and we've gotten more and more comfortable, quarterback and be calling it in him, obviously we tried to get him involved a little bit more at Missouri, as the game progressed. And I do think he's got an unbelievable upside. And it is hard, for our guys, because there is really only one ball. So got really good running backs, and I promise you, if you ask them, they'd want more touches. And, for a while there, everybody was on my ass about not getting it to George. And, then Jermaine makes some plays, and then everybody wants to throw it to Jermaine. And Kieris is doing great. So that's just part of what we do. You're just hopeful that you have enough skilled players to where they have to defend the whole field, and all the players that are on the field are capable of making plays, which I think is a sign of a really good offense. The best offenses have that in terms of weapons of tight ends, wideouts, and running backs, I think, which gives you the opportunity to take advantage of mismatches and make them defend the field.